Hello and welcome to Creative Vitality Jam Sessions. Here we have intimate conversations with extraordinary dance and theater artists about reimagining creativity and supporting and building community. CVJS and I walk in solidarity and as allies for equality, justice, and respect. Black Lives Matter. Let's unite. I'm Helen Pickett, and today's guest is Malik. He's a freelance choreographer and the artistic director and founder of Ballet Boy Productions. We have known each other since 1999. Welcome,
Good morning, Helen. Thank you for
Hi.
having me.
Oh, my pleasure.
How are you?
I'm actually quite good. It looks to be a little bit of a rainy day here in Philly, but I'm happy to be home. I'm grateful to have had some work this year. I'm healthy, so all things considered, I'm quite good. You?
Good. I am well. I am here in New York. I don't really call it home anymore because I'm like trying to figure out where my next home is.
Oh,
Permanent home, but yeah, I'm in New York. Been here for about 3 weeks because, like you said, I've been blessed to be back to work since January. So I've been traveling a lot and working a lot, which is great. But yeah, so I'm here in New York and having a good time and enjoying the summer in New York, which I love.
I was not aware that you were looking to find a new permanent home. Do you have any idea
Yeah.
where that might be?
Well, the choices were between Atlanta, Houston, and DC. I've lived in DC before. I had never lived in Atlanta, so I was in Atlanta for 3 months, the first 3 months of the year, which is where I did dance lab, and I just was in Houston for Houston Contemporary Dance Companies. They brought me out to choreograph on their week-long program. So Houston's out of the question now. I love the city, but not to live there. So now it's between DC and Atlanta.
Well, it's funny. You're going back to the South, right? You're not from the South,
Hmm.
though, right?
No,
No.
no. I'm from
So
I'm from here.
yeah. So it's funny about Atlanta. A lot of people are going there,
I
and
love it. It's really nice.
yeah, and because of that, the like liberal demographic is really growing because a lot more
Hmm.
artists are going there, and it's it. I think it's boding very well for that community,
Hmm. Hmm.
and also I wonder, first of all, there's one thing about Atlanta and Georgia. It's a right to work state. That's not
Hmm.
great. Um, but it affords Hollywood so much film is being made there. The
Right.
music industry is huge. Dance, there's a lot more dance going on.
There
So
is. There is.
it's really, since I was resident choreographer at Atlanta Ballet, things have really, I've seen huge changes and shifts.
Hmm. Yeah, that's what I hear, and you can kind of feel that. Or for me, not having ever like lived there, I've been there for a vacation to visit my best friend, Jewel Lane,
Yeah.
but to be there for an extended period of time, which is why I wanted to do it. I wanted to like just be there, not working, just to see if I liked the city and how I felt energy wise living there. And it was really great. It was nice because it had enough to do when you want to do something, but it also allowed me a lot of time to just enjoy and relax and be in a quiet space. So, which
Yeah.
I've learned to appreciate in my older years.
You do need a car.
You do need a car, which is why it's between DC and Atlanta. I can drive and I don't mind driving. It's not my favorite thing. It never has been. So I like DC that it still has the transportation like New York. You can get on the train, go anywhere you want. So yeah, that would be the biggest new obstacle for me to get over, but it's okay. New adventures.
Exactly. It's not really a big obstacle. It's not a big.
No, I just really do not like to drive. I have nightmares about it. And I'm a good driver. I'm a very good driver. But
Well, that's good because you need to be in Atlanta.
yeah. I agree. I've noticed.
Well, my love, you've already answered the first question. You're in New York. It's really, really good to see you. 1999, man. And then we worked together at Ballet X on a ballet called Union. And we'll kind of get to that. But Ja, I'd like to start with an introduction before we get to your 2021 work. You're a freelance choreographer based right now in Harlem, but who knows for how long, New York. And you also are the artistic director and founder of Ballet Boy Productions. So yes, you have created works for North Carolina Dance Theater 2, Oakland Ballet, City Dance Ensemble of Washington, D.C., Intermezzo Dance Company, Columbia Ballet, and Contingent Ballet. Broken Prayers was a work made for what company?
For City Dance.
City Dance, okay. You received really high praise for that work. It was one of your earlier works, right?
Yeah, it was my first like real main stage creation.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
So it was your first. Was choreography always something you wanted, or when did you know? Was it through the making of your first that you thought, oh, I've found home?
No, I always wanted to be a choreographer ever since I started in dance, pretty much. I well, let me go back a little bit. I saw the Nutcracker, and there was a guy on stage, Ramon Thielen, who used to dance for Cleveland Ballet. And I saw him on stage, and he looked just like me. Like we looked like we could be cousins, same complexion, same height, same kind of body form. And I remember just sitting there like, wow, I always loved dance, but I never saw anybody that looked like me. So I never thought it was a possibility to be a dancer. So then when I saw that Nutcracker, I was like, oh, I could become a ballet dancer. I was like, I love this. I love it. So that was my obsession for the first 3 years. And then I saw Urban Folk Dance by Ulysses Dove. And that kind of did it for me. I saw that piece and I was probably like 12. And I remember just sitting there and I saw the reaction of the audience afterwards. And I said, whatever that man did to get the audience to react like this, that's what I want to do. I was fascinated about the storytelling. I was fascinated about time. Like I visually saw how you tie dance and music and emotions in real life on stage. And I was like, I was drawn in. It was a wrap from there. I was like, that's what I want to do. So wow. I was like, choreography all the way.
Wow, but you spent quite a number of years, which I really respect. As I did, you really learned your craft. You learned your craft on yourself, as one can do, as one does do. But yes, that's a fact. But you also, I feel like even when I was working with you, it was always, I felt like you were always studying it in an effort, like how would you say this to someone else to get what you to coach them in the way that you want them for your movement. And I always respect it when I see artists that have gone through that gauntlet, basically, that process. Because as you and I know, and many choreographers know, everything comes down to us. You really can't, there's no reason to blame the dancers or any surrounding,
Yeah, that's at the end of I agree, because I think at the end of the day, if you talk about just a job, that's our job, and you can't place the blame on anyone else. And yeah, I really don't know what else to say beyond that. I respect it, and I don't want to get on a high horse. It's so easy. This is how I feel about dance sometimes. I don't want to go on a tangent, but I sometimes feel like, yes, we love dance, and you and I both dance, and that's great. And we think about what are our next steps. And you know how automatically people think, oh, you're going to teach, or you're going to do this, or you're going to do that. And I say, no, like really investigate and see what you love just as much as performing or being in the studio, because it might not be teaching. It might not be choreography. For me, it was not teaching. I am not a teacher. I love teaching when I do once in a while, but as a full-time teacher, no, absolutely not. That's not my gig. But choreography is where I really felt like this is something I want to invest my heart, my soul, my mind, my time in, something that I really want to study and understand. And to your point, to make sure that I understand fully how to get across what's in this crazy head up here on stage and make it to the point where you don't have to, you might not understand everything about it, but you can find some nuances and subjects and movements and moments for yourself to take away and say, okay, I got that. I relate to that on some way, shape, or form. I don't know.
Yeah. But I've been in the studio with you while you're choreographing. And I also find you to be quite a good coach. And I hear you about, knowing within yourself that you are probably the best teacher when you're, because I have seen you mentor. I do see you coach your dancers to fulfill an ideal. Perhaps that is where you're pouring your teaching into, right?
Yeah. I think I meant teaching as far as like Andrea Long. Like, she's an amazing teacher.
Yeah.
Like, she studies, she knows how to create a syllabus, she knows how to, I just watch her teach, and I talk to her outside of the classroom, and the mythology that she puts into it, the detail and the time, that's how I put into choreography. I just don't have the attention span to do that to teach. Yes. So that's just what I mean by teaching. But the teaching does come out, of course, as you know, as you did to me, we pass it along, we mentor those that are working with us. So I think it's our responsibility in some way, shape, or form to help formulate dancers to, so I don't want this to be all about you, but because it's like, you coach them and you help them and you teach them because you want them to show themselves and the best ideas that they have. And thinking dancers, we both, I think, love thinking, alive, in the moment dancers,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was just at Jacob's Pillow. I know, but I was just at Jacob's Pillow and, talking about those same things again, thinking is good. Don't mix up thinking and judgment. They're not the same thing.
They're not the same.
And be in a state of choice. It always comes, so yeah, we're there. We are very, very, very similar. So Ja, you write in 2021, that 2021 has been a reemergence of Ja Malik. I love this. And I do think that those of us that continued the work through the pandemic, regardless of many things, we just, and we've spoken about this before, people that need to do something will find a way, regardless, right? So we had our health, but it's those of us that knew we needed to continue no matter what. Do you think this laid foundation also for, this reemergence where you really are working now? And
I definitely think so. It definitely made me appreciate my time in the studio, whether it's virtual or in person. It's made me even more grateful for every opportunity that I have, because as we saw during this pandemic, we can go into the unknown at any moment. And that was a scary time. So to come out of that, I just had a resounding amount of gratuity and love and respect, even more for what we do, the community of it, because we as choreographers, we kind of need those bodies, we need those minds, we need that energy, to get across what we're trying to do. I'm personally not one of those that I don't really get in the studio and start just, coming up with stuff. I'm not that person. I'm not the choreographer, which is okay. I love being in the studio with another human being, and as I found, even virtually, because I didn't know how that was going to play out. But I love the community of it. So I'm so grateful every time I get to walk into a studio or just get introduced and get to work with another dancer. It's just like, oh, it's like heaven to me.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
So you were chosen in February 2021, Dance Lab New York, as the Dance Lab New York choreographer for the Nexus Lab, where choreographic incubation and technology intersect. Can you describe this project?
Okay, so this was something I applied for on a whim. Like many people, myself included, I was completely depressed and devastated during the pandemic. I had worked so hard as a choreographer and I started to gain some momentum in 2020. I had commissions and I had residencies and things like that. And then so when the pandemic happened, they started to just every week it was like, thank you very much, and I was just like, every week I was, to the point I just like crawled in my bed and just was like, don't talk to me. I'm just gonna stay here. Let me know when it's over, and so forth and so on. But I had finally got back on social media and I was scrolling through my Instagram account and Dance Lab came up and I said, oh, I remember Dance Lab. I think I had applied for the in-person right before the pandemic happened. And of course they didn't have the in-person method that they normally do. So they reached out to me and they said, well, we have a new program we're starting called Nexus, where we're going to have and figure out and see if technology can work in choreography through Zoom and so forth and so on. You'll be with dancers in different parts of the world, and you'll come together on the Zoom and see what you come up with. And I was like terrified, terrified. I had never worked on Zoom. I had never worked virtually, so I really thought I was the only kind of choreographer that had to be in the room with a body, exchanging ideas and energy. I thought that was the only way I could create. And I said to myself, you know what, John? The unknown just happened. Let's take another risk. Let's take another chance. I applied. I got it. I told them from the jump, I said, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm down for the ride, and I'm very intrigued, and I'm curious, and they love that. And so basically what happens is that we all meet at a certain time on Zoom and we work just like in the studio, except they're in their room, somewhere in apartments, somewhere in studios, somewhere in backyards. It was like whatever space you had. And we spent about 4 to 5 hours a day just coming up with ideas, and I could play around. And the beauty of it was I didn't have to come up with the finished product. It was just really a week of ideas and whatever you wanted to do. So I love that idea because we so rarely get an opportunity just to work on actual choreography for no other reason than just to create and see what's in our mind and explore and try new things, without worrying about, oh, is this going to be a failure? Is this going to be a hit? Which, we have to think about a little bit because we're being commissioned and working, and you want to make good work. But a lot of times I think for me, I used to let that get in my head too much, and it would kind of change my real ideas of what I wanted. So I love the fact that this kind of brought out a brand new me in a way, made me think in ways I'd never thought about thinking, timing wise, what could happen with 4 different bodies and 4 different boxes. And it was all just fascinating to me. And the first day I was nervous for the first 2 hours. And then after that, I was on a roll. And I think by the end of the week, I had come up with like at least 30 minutes of movement. And I told them at first I probably will only come up with 5 because I don't know what I'm doing. But once we got going, and the dancers were so giving and they worked so hard in their spaces, and I was just amazed by that alone. So it was a wonderful, wonderful opportunity that I really cherished, and it kind of got me reignited and reinvigorated about creating again. So I'm so grateful for that amazing opportunity.
Yeah, and again, we never know where these blessings are going to come from, right?
Right. Never know. Have to be open and ready.
Open and ready. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
I like using the term from Sufism. They say a ready heart, and I think, you know me in semantics. An open heart, I see too much of the visual of an open heart, but a ready heart.
Mm-hmm.
That's consistency. It's beating. It's there. It's gonna always beat. As long as we have breath. So yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, I love that because there's always things. I think about the heart also. There's always things coming in and out, new things, new air, new nutrients coming in and out of the heart to go out to the rest of the body. So I love that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's choreography right there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, Ja, in 2019, Battery Dance Festival provided Ballet Boy Productions, I think their debut for a new production, A Love Sonnet, performed by
Mm-hmm.
Maxfield Haynes and Jared Allen Brunson of Complexions Ballet Company. So this was a duet, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this was a debut for Ballet Boy Productions. So
Mm-hmm.
is this something, because it was made very close to the pandemic again, if you will this have more life? Is this, there are many like, I believe Dance NYC, there are various things also. Oh, I'm forgetting the name right now. But like, is this something you could submit? Could you submit
Yeah.
duet for a
I,
further life?
yeah. I'm hoping next year to be included in the Fire Island Dance Festival. Because it would really be great for that because of what it was created for. It was created for my best friend, Jason F. Scott, who passed away from AIDS at a very early age of 21.
Oh,
And I did get to say goodbye to him. And through other circumstances, I didn't even get to attend his funeral and things like that. So I had to find a way to I was in a complete state of grief for such a long time because I mean, we were childhood best friends. We did everything together. He protected me because he was a little bit older than I was. And so when I started to like discover my gayness and who I was and my happy flag, and he was there already, and he kind of helped guide me and taught me like the in and outs of trying to work through that. And I just have such amazing memories of him. So I had to find a way to create something to basically say thank you. And though I didn't get to say goodbye to you, I will see you again. So that's what it was created for. So I always had it in my mind that I wanted it to be a part of DRA, Dancers Responding to AIDS, in some way, shape, or form. So Battery Dance Festival, thankfully, was the first organization to basically commission it in its real form, because it was originally created for City Dance and that Broken Prayers piece. And the director at the time did not want a male and male duet. So I had to change it to a male and female duet. And with that, a lot of the choreography changed and whatever. So when they commissioned it to have it redone, new production, I was so excited because they had no stipulations. They didn't care. So I was like, yes, we finally get to present it the way it's supposed to be. And then I had these two gorgeous dancers from Complexions graciously and happily work with me. And I was very excited about that. And and it was a day. It was a day. There was a hurricane that was passing through, and we were getting the residuals from that hurricane. So I mean, it was raining up until the 11th hour. Like we thought it was going to be canceled. We're sitting there under a tent, like I'm there, like praying to everything I could think of, and the rain is getting harder and harder. And then we all just stopped and we just breathed, and they were like, "It's going to be okay, Joe. We're going to perform." And I was like, "Okay, I'm just going to trust you guys and believe in everything that you believe in, and we're going to go with it." And luckily, like 2 hours before the show, it stopped raining. The sun came up. It was gorgeous. It was beautiful, and people came. I thought no one was going to come after the rain, because sometimes in New York you get a spot of rain, everybody's like, "Oh, I'm not going anywhere." I'm like, "What are you guys afraid of? It's just rain." But luckily, and it was a lot of people, and they came and they loved it, and I was just so happy to see that, not just for myself as a choreographer, but for my friend, because I really wanted to honor him and show him, how much he was loved. And I think he was looking down that day in some way, shape, or form with the sunlight and the come through with the good weather. So yeah, I'm hoping it has a little more life left in it. I think it does. I really, it's one of my favorite things I've ever created. So yeah, I'm excited to see what comes next with it.
So I hope that Fire Island commission comes through for that. But have you ever thought about filming it?
I did. Because of the pandemic, I've been working a lot within film and creating things. So I had never really thought about film before. also, that's one of the beauties that came out of the pandemic. So I really have thought about recently about finding a way to creatively create it on film.
Well, because if you know work with this and like find people who really, and not on your iPhone. I'm sure you know people, but you know
Hmm.
there are so many dance film festivals now, and that is a way it could
Yeah.
really have a big life. And it's such a great message. It's love, and it's honoring a really good person who
Hmm.
had very, you know, short and tragic end. But that's, you know, to get that message out there, because in the end, it is one of love, you
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
that I believe that is part of the healing that is coming with this, you know, time now. The more we can spread that, the idea of community and love and connection. So, you know, it would be great to see that filmed.
Yeah. I'm definitely, it's definitely on my checklist of things to possibly do. So,
Right. So, John, you danced with many companies. I know you like to call it your hop around, and actually, I really feel that that is an excellent way for you knowing you wanted to be a choreographer, right? It is
hmm.
an excellent way to get so much experience with as many different kinds of choreographic uh, you know, styles as possible. So you danced with Cleveland Ballet, Oakland Ballet, North Carolina Dance Theater, Nathan Trice Rituals, City Dance Ensemble, Camille A. Brown and Dancers, Ballet Hispanico, Ballet X, where we work together in union. And I have to say, just reading that, it's such an amazing blend of classical, contemporary, even contemporary modern,
Hmm.
you know, styles of dance. It's such a rich career you had. Um, I always found reimagining was a part of being an artist, and we know that. You know, I had that reimagining in one company. So I'm asking you, do you feel like this, as you call it, the hop around, do you feel like that is basically because you knew you wanted to be a choreographer so early,
Hmm.
that that not only, how did that help you reimagine yourself as a dancer, as a choreographer, as an artist, as a human being, um, and what were perhaps a few of the, you know, experiences that really brought you further?
Yeah. When I first started in Cleveland Ballet, it was a pretty much a classical company. Like we did Swan Lake, Giselle's, and I was just an apprentice, so I wasn't dancing that much, but I was in the studio learning. Um, and then I think most of the choreography was done by Dennis Naha, who was the artistic director at the time. And so I just had that one idea in my head that this is what it is. It's classical ballet. I loved it. Um, and then, as I said earlier, I saw the Ailey Company and I was turned on to a whole nother form of dance, which was a more modern and contemporary dance. And I loved it, but I knew I still loved, it was something about ballet that just kept bringing me back, that I loved the point shoes. I loved seeing the women in point shoes, and I loved the technique and the discipline and the rituals of being in a ballet company and a ballet class. So I thought to myself, there has to be a way that someone has to merge these two, this contemporary and this ballet, not knowing that there is a whole world out there for contemporary ballet. And so then I saw North Carolina Dance Theater do In the Middle, Somewhat Elevated, and that blew me away. That was it. I was like, wow, that's what I want to do. If I have to be in a ballet company, if I have to have a dance career in order to be a choreographer, whatever that is, that's what I want to do, because it blended everything that I was just talking about. It gave me everything I needed in ballet, but it also gave me all the human experience and feelings that I felt watching the Ailey Company. So that was the top of my list, North Carolina Dance Theater. I had to get into that company. It took me a minute to get there, but I eventually did get into the company, and it was a great experience. But I love the fact that I did, as I say, hop around to these companies, spending 2 to 3 seasons in each one, because what it did, it just gave me a plethora of information that I still have. I've been journaling since I was 7. And after every experience of working with a choreographer or someone who was setting someone else's ballet directly from the choreographer, I would go home and I would write down the notes about what I felt in the process in the studio. How could it inform me as an artist to share on stage? And also, most important to me, how can these things that I'm experiencing be inside of me, but come out of me as a choreographer? What experiences do I want to take away? What do I want to throw away? What do I not want to do? So I'm grateful that I had all these experiences because I got to work with so many different choreographers from, you know, modern, contemporary, classical ballet. It was all such a learning experience, that I think it really shaped who I am today as a artist in the studio with other dancers, because it also gives you an idea, or for me, it gave me an idea about temperament in studio, which I talk about a lot. I really try to create environments where everyone feels respected and there's a level of love and trust that's in a studio. And because I think it creates a better work environment. And I also think it helps me as a choreographer come up with better work, because I've been in situations in studios with choreographers where it's very tense, and that's their way of working, and I respect that. But it just wasn't the most healthy for me mentally, or physically. So I take each one of those experiences and I say, what can I learn from this? What can I learn from this? What did I experience in this? And I've used all those things to kind of create the environment that I want to work in and the work that I create. So while some people did discourage me from hopping around as much, I'm grateful that I did, because I would not have had the opportunity to work with like Alonzo King or you. I mean, who knows? You know, if I just stuck to a company that only did the classics, Swan Lake, Giselle, Lake Corsair, I would not have met and know as many people as I would in the dance world. And that community, which I spoke about earlier, has been life-saving for me as a dancer and as a choreographer. If I had not had those connections, I would probably have done half the stuff I've done so far in life.
Well, and you just mentioned such an important word for us, because as we know, it's a small community. Connection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's
It's
everything.
vital. It's everything.
It's everything. And it feels good. Right? It feels
Yeah,
good.
it feels good
Yeah.
because I come from a very small family, and my extended family, which is a dance family, my best friends, I met them, my godchildren who are back here, are through my best friend that I met at Oakland Ballet. Jewel D. Lang, Camille A. Brown, these are two amazing choreographers who are working in the world right now. I've known them for almost 20 years through dance, you know, and these are people that have transcended friendship. These are, you know, people I consider like my family, you know. I've known you for 20 years. I've known Alan Barnes for 20 years, Francesca Harper for 22 years. You know, it's just like, these are, I consider all of you like, you know, whether we're close, like talk every day, or, you know, when we see each other, it's always love and it's always respect and it's always such a happy, like, you know, when I see you, I scream and I run and I hug you, because it's just like, you guys are like my family, my dance family. And it's such a wonderful feeling to know that I'm never alone in this world, because there was a period in time, you know, in high school where I did feel alone. I didn't know anyone and I didn't have any experiences. And once I formulated and got into the dance world, that's really where I started to blossom and come into my own. And I wasn't shy anymore. I used to not talk at all as a kid. Oh my gosh, my grandmother thought I was a mute. I remember my grandfather, he used to always just hide under the table and start making up dances. And he was always like, what's wrong with this kid? I was just like, I didn't know how to talk. I didn't. Ugh, I hated it. But through dance, I learned how to talk and find my voice. So now you can't shut me up.
No, I mean, John, it's amazing. I also feel, just speaking a bit to that, because I want to hear, I have quite a few more questions for you. So the thing is also, you know, so yeah, we've known each other since 1999, and we do keep cycling. And that is the beauty also of our art world. I love the cycling of the art world. And yes, it's like no time has passed when we see each other again. and then we're in different iterations.
Yes.
And it's evolution and connection, and yes, it's support.
Yeah.
Because again, we know how important, also from a small family, we know how important these extended families are to us.
Mm-hmm.
They are our life's blood. They are our lifeline. They are our net. And
Absolutely.
we are that for our friends.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm with you in that. And the cycle of gratitude is just extraordinary.
Yes. Yes.
It's just extraordinary. So I want to go back to your own production company, Ballet Boy Productions.
Mm-hmm.
You have self-produced, many works. What are some of the works you would like to carry forward or expand? So I know that the duet came out of the other work, right?
Mm-hmm.
But are there any works that you'd like to expand from existing, stuff that you've already done?
Yeah.
Are there specific designers you'd like to work with? Do you see yourself, and this is, I really want to hear about this. Do you see yourself, so maybe going away from Ballet Boy Productions to become a director someday of an existing company that's there? Or would you like to grow your own company as complexions grew,
Right.
as now look at it? So there's a lot of questions there, but around the same thing.
Yeah. Oh, wow. For the work, yes, because the earlier works, I'm just now starting to hit my stride with the 15-minute plus works. The earlier works were all either self-produced or through, New York City has a lot of festivals and things that you can enter to get your work out there. So I entered every single one I could think of. But most of those works are shorter, 10 minutes, 7 minutes, 8 minutes. But I've always had in my journal, in my head, in my mind, that these are longer works. So in particular, like Lucid Dreams, which was, I think, like the second work that I ever created professionally, which was on Purchase, college students, who half of them are in the Ailey company right now, which is crazy enough, and one is in Alonzo King. But that ballet in particular, I always, I have detailed notes about every section. It's 4 different sections to the same composer, Henry Gorecki. And I totally want to expand that and see the full visualization of that. And then the work that I created for the Young Choreographer Showcase, which got an amazing review from Roslyn Sulcas from the New York Times. And it's called The Hour Before. And I always, because I love the music and I love what I created for that, I always wanted to extend that into what I fully saw. So those are 2 of the top 2 works that I created in the past that I would definitely love to reinvestigate and move forward in some way, shape, or form. And I love that I've come out of the pandemic with new tools, as far as we were speaking about videos and other ways just to create work and have your work live on and fully realized. So those are 2 works that I'm definitely exploring, along with the duet from Broken Prayers. As far as Ballet Boy Production goes, so I started it because I wanted to create opportunities for young men of color that I didn't have growing up, which was what we were just speaking about. It was the mentoring. It was I just needed somebody to talk to at the end of the day. Because my career wasn't easy. I had a few rough patches here and there, which, I come from a very rough neighborhood, very hard, tough background. I had to grow up really, really tough and, be strong and, all this other nonsense that was taught to me at an early age. But through that, some of that behavior and some of those mental attitudes transferred over into my adult life. And it was affecting the work, it was affecting my ability to dance, it was affecting the environment that I was working in. And if anybody's watching, I apologize. It was just growing, I was growing up. and I didn't have anyone to talk to, because I do think if I had had a mentor or somebody just to scream out to, just to have some feedback about, why am I feeling like this? How do I get around this? How do I deal with this? It would have been a lot easier. So I wanted to create a place and a space and an environment for young men of color to feel like they had mentoring, they could train, they could have performance opportunities to pursue ballet if that's something that they really wanted to do. Because I came from a family of workers, carpenters, and domesticated work, and they didn't know anything about the art. So I was the first one in my family to want to be an artist, and they were just like, we don't know how to help you, but good luck, So, and there's a lot of boys, like I say, if people loved me as a dancer, I went to school, like a high school, Cleveland School of Arts for high school. I went to a high school where there were 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 more dancers, way more talented than I was, but didn't have the resources and the opportunity and the mentoring to know how to get from the environment we were in to the environment we could be in, that we saw, that we should see ourselves in. I don't know what it was in me that just made me super determined. I think it's because I'm from New York. And then, I knew I wanted to get back there. So I knew I kind of had that drive just to, at the very least, get out of Cleveland, Ohio. Because at the time I was just like, I don't want to live here. It's just not for me. But if you don't have that kind of drive, it's like, where do you get it from? Who do you talk to? So that's how Ballet Boy Productions started. And what I would like to do, I would love to be an artistic director of a ballet company. Completely, honestly, truly. I love it. I have always had to wear different hats in life, because I did spend a great deal as a dancer, and now I'm spending a great deal of my life as a choreographer. But there have been a numerous amount of years where I had to become an executive director for a fashion resale company, which was called Bragg here in New York. I was there for 3 years. Before that, I was the fitness manager for Washington Sports Club in Washington, D.C. for 3 years. And so with that, I got a lot of different tools, and I was like, okay, I enjoy this manager part and, the administrative side of things. But I was like, I want to tie that in with ballet, with the arts in some way, shape, or form. So what I would love to do is to run a ballet company one day and have Ballet Boy Productions, the model, formatted into the company, because I think it's a format and a formula that can be translated to any company, actually, just to provide, anyone, Black, white, male, female, with the resources and the tools to mentally and physically get through a career in dance, because it's so tough, but it's so beautiful. But sometimes we just don't always have the right tools at our hands to get through it unscathed.
Yeah. Well, I think you have everything you need, and you've had the experience to become an artistic director of a ballet company. So I'm in your corner there.
Thank you.
And
as I am for you.
Thank you.
I've said that for years. I was like, she needs to be a director. Just because you have such, oh my God, your choreography alone is just amazing, but you're brilliant. I love when we talk and we have our sit downs, because it's just like, I learn so much, and you have such a way of explaining and expressing things that makes complete sense. And it's things that I think, I walk away and I'm like, I never thought about that. And it makes me become a better artist and a better human,
Thank you.
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
I'm ready now, so I'm out there.
Yeah. It's coming.
Ja, so you have also created for the theater 2 theater productions. I'd like to hear what they are, and how is your avenue of research different for theater, because these are actors, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in your research with these theater pieces, did you take derivative movement from the time? So, in the play, where the play was placed in time?
Mm-hmm.
And how did you choreograph for actors?
Well, it's interesting. The first play I did was a play called Miss Julie by August. I'm blanking on his last name.
Strindberg.
Yes, thank you. And that was my very first time professionally working in the theater. The beauty of what my life has produced and what I've been through is that I went to a high school, performing arts high school. And because, like I said, I knew I wanted to be a choreographer, I worked with everybody. I said I would get theater kids, I would get photography department, the vocal department, anybody that was free, I would choreograph on them. So I started that early. So I knew how to work with people who had complete training, and I knew how to work with people who had never done two steps in their lives. And the beauty of it is really informed me to also work within companies because I can go into a room and create on the dancers that I see before me and figure out ways how to make them look amazing and even better with what they have, you know? So walking into the Miss Julie process was very interesting because it was a play I had not heard of before. And I did a lot of research. I read the play and I went to the Performing Arts Library and I watched a performance of it. And I thought it was beautiful. And it was very interesting because it was one of the first plays that actually had a ballet within the play. And he wanted to bring it back to that because it had been omitted for almost, I think, 20 years. And so he wanted to bring the ballet back to it. So he allowed me to bring in two of my dancers and work with two of the actors who were pivotal in the particular scene about the ballet, because it was about an interracial couple. And at this particular moment, the town had found out that they were canoodling and they were coming to basically break them up and get them together. So I had to create a scene where um because it was a small cast, it had to be a scene that was created that gave the illusion that the townspeople of this 100 deep town was coming to wreck some stuff up in their house, basically. So it was very interesting. It was a fun opportunity. I wish I had a little more time to work on it. It was very quick. But it definitely gave me a lot of information about theater, and it gave me a lot of information about how different, but how similar what we do as just dance-based choreographers and theater, especially in acting, there's a lot of similarities about how to get things across the footlights and get across to the audience. So that led to years later, just recently, I think it was 2 years ago, I was working with Camille Brown, who was the choreographer for Color Girls. And I was her assistant choreographer for that. And that I knew the play like the back of my hand. It's a play I read when I think I was 10 years old, and something, even though I'm not a color girl, well, I am a color girl. I can still relate to it. All of the characters and the stories in there, I either related to personally or I knew people who I related those characters to. So I knew Ntezake's work so deeply, so richly, that working with Camille, and that's my sister, and I've danced for her, and I kind of know what she likes and I know what she wants. So that was a very eye-opening experience because it was my first time working with her in theater, and we worked with actors who were not dancers at all, and it was just fascinating to me how she also taps into the humanist experiences of these women and brought out things in them that they didn't see them in themselves. But it didn't take away from her vision and her style. It was still there. You could still see it was Camille Brown. And that taught me a lot. That was an amazing experience because that taught me you can work with just about anyone to fulfill a mission, to fulfill a statement, to get the love across, and to get the story across without having to take away any of yourself or change anyone's personality and being and shape or size or anything like that. Because at the end of the day, it's dance and it's storytelling and it's touching people. So I'm fascinated with theater. I really hope to do more of it because I like working with actors. They are so funny. They work so hard. Yeah, I enjoy it. It's just a whole different world, but I loved it. It's really great.
Wow, it sounds like it was yet another layer, such an enriching layer.
Yeah, it made me definitely think about my work in a different way because I usually create a lot of like abstract works
Mhm.
that derive, I mean, from my personal experience, but I never thought about actually taking a story, which you've done, which I admire so much, taking the actual text and a story and translating it into dance. I had never thought about doing that before. And so that kind of really ignited my mind. And I was like, oh, I like this. I want to explore that some more. So that's one of the next things on my horizon of things to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I can highly recommend it. It's really fun. As a matter
Yeah.
of fact, so much fun that I really don't want to go back.
Mm,
I always feel like narrative going forward will be a part of what I do,
yeah.
you know? So, even like you said, in the most abstract ways, I might just take one thing from a
Right.
play that has really influenced the way I'm thinking about a piece, but it's still based. There's still
Hmm.
that kernel, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you were, or you were the recipient of the 2016 CUNY Dance Initiative residency and the recipient of the 2016 Project Plie Scholarship from American Ballet Theatre to become a certified ABT curriculum teacher.
Back to
How,
teaching.
right. How have these how have these two experiences enriched your life?
Oh, there, even though as I earlier said, I fully realized like teaching is not my passion, or not even not my passion. It's just it's not where my mind can totally lay and be free. But through the ABT curriculum training, that gave me such great tools how to work with young people, which is when, we saw each other again recently in North Carolina for the choreographic residency program that Susan Jaffe invited me to. That was the first time I really worked with young people after the ABT training. And I'm so grateful for it because it really goes through the developmental stages of being 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It goes through all those stages and it taught me things I never even thought about. You can say this to a professional dancer, but it will not translate the same to a 14-year-old, person. There are certain things that you can say to a 14-year-old that you can't say to a professional. There are certain not attitudes, but certain temperaments from youngsters that you have to learn how to deal with because it's not that they're rebelling or they're being mean or they're being facetious or anything like that. They're just going through changes hormonally and mentally and physically. And you have to be keen and aware to those things and sensitive to the fact that they're learning, and at the earliest developmental stages of learning. So you have to be very precious with that. And that's why in that rehearsal, I was making sure that I was definitely making sure I treated them professionally to give them the experience and also to make sure that I was, fulfilling my job as a choreographer. But I also wanted to create an environment where it was allowing them to feel free, to feel seen, to feel heard. I had one girl in there who hated ballet, and she was only in there because her parents loved ballet and they've made her do it for the past 5 years. And I remember I took her to the side and I said, let's make a deal. We both have to be in here doing this. So what we're going to do, I'm going to give you the best of me and I just need you to give me the best of you. And when it becomes too much, you just pull me aside and tell me and we'll work through it and we'll figure it out. And she had an amazing time. Amazing time. She was crying at the last rehearsal. So that taught me a lot about how to just go into the studio and work with young people, which was great because then I ended up working with the Boston Ballet Professional Division. And I think without that experience, I would not have had the same results with both of those ballets, which were two of my longer works. It was 15 minutes plus. And it's two works that I have to say that I'm extremely, extremely proud of. Those two moments in particular, that's where I really was like, okay, you're on to something. I see you. I don't see I see glimpses of your influences, but I don't see them. I see you. And it's through these young kids and them being so open and so fearless and so ferocious and so hungry and passionate that they unlocked, I think, my truest voice so far and have brought me to a new level of creativity and accomplishment, I guess.
Yeah, well,
And
I mean,
then,
and all of the reimagining job. Look at
mhm,
your life. Look at the fabric of your life and that river and all
yeah,
of the reimagining, and how these steps, lead to the next thing. And
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. And then Cooney was just another great opportunity. They offer, similar to Dance Lab, they offer you space in New York City, which is so vital and so necessary. They offer you space for a week or for a month residency. It depends on what you apply for. And they just give you the space to create. They give you the time. They give you a little bit of money. They give you a wonderful space to create in, and they don't bother you, and they support you from that moment on, and they actually stay in your life, and they want to know what you're doing, what are you up to, how can we promote you, how can we help you. And it's a really great organization that I'm really happy that I became a part of their family. So it's been
Yeah.
great.
So, Ja, we've come to the last three questions that I asked everyone. In supporting and building a more equitable dance community, what are some specific daily practices that you are active with, or do you think that we as a dance community could be more active with, or period active with?
Mine is the mentoring. I am such a strong advocate for the mentoring. I get emails, I get direct messages on social media from young men and women who just want information. They want someone to talk to. So I daily try to make sure I reach out to those people. I don't ignore anyone. I try to reach out and be as helpful as I can. I also try to be mindful and aware daily, especially like I said, since the pandemic, of how grateful each moment I have in the studio talking to a dancer, working with a dancer is. With that, I try to wake up daily and say thank you. And I've also made it a strong point of practice to reach out to, not every day, I don't have to talk to people every day or every week, but I try to reach out to and stay in touch with people who have helped me, as well as people who have just silently been in my corner, and it's brought me such, like, I don't know how to say it. It's just brought me such, I'm in such a light place in my life, and I'm so grateful for it because of these relationships and people just taking the time to talk to me, that I try to just pay that forward. I think just talking sometimes and just being a listening ear, a soundboard for someone is so important. It's so vital. Um, I just talked to a young man the other day who's just starting out in his choreographic career, and I just let him talk, and he talked for a good 2 hours, and he was like, "I'm so sorry for taking up your time," and I'm like, "It's okay. Please believe me, it's okay." You need this. I need this. You're feeding me as much as you think I'm feeding. I'm not even saying much. I'm just letting you talk. And it's showing up for people. And I think that's been one of the things that I've always, like, I used to go to everybody's show. I can't do that anymore. But I used to go to everyone's show. I supported everybody. I was at every dance performance every day here in New York. But I definitely try to show up for people when I can. And if I can't show up, I at least let them know, hey, I want to know how it went. I let you know I'm thinking about you. So I think that's one of the ways that I find myself giving back and trying to open up the space to be more equitable and more communicative between all of us, because I think we can easily fall into these, little circles and little holes of our, and just be in our own world for the rest of our life, especially through social media. That I don't want to lose that real connection of talking or writing. I used to write people letters, and I still do. But I don't want to lose that. Those are things that I cherish and I still love. I love social media, but I love the real human connection of one-on-one and talking and communicating.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too. So you've shared so much, but do you have a favorite or impactful memory? Like just this is a spontaneous thing from your creative life.
Mm,
I know
definitely,
there are.
yeah, definitely that first Nutcracker. I'll never forget. I mean, when he walked out on that stage and I saw myself, I mean, I was in tears. And my aunt who brought me, she was sitting next to me snoring, and I'm on the edge of my seat, like, oh my God, I'm like, do you see this? Wake up, do you see this? But that memory will never, I hope I never forget that. Because that representation that set it off for me, because I didn't see myself before that. I saw myself in music videos because I started dancing because of Thriller, of course, Michael Jackson. But to see someone on stage doing this idea that I had seen a million times, I had seen Baryshnikov and um, Fernando Bujones and things and people like that, but I had never seen somebody that looked like me, and then he was amazing. So that didn't hurt. But to just have that memory forever, it kind of just it lives in my heart. It keeps me coming back to the arts, because there are times when I walk away and I'm like, this is it, I'm done. But then I meet someone and I see someone and I hear someone talk about it, and I'm just like, oh, I can't. I love it too much. I love it too much. And I think about my little self in that seat, just looking at him and being inspired and walking around in my neighborhood. And I love when I used to be in a company and we used to do all those outreach to the schools, and you see those little brown faces and brown girls and brown boys, and they're just like lit up. And that always brings me back. That always brings me back. So that memory is probably the greatest for me as an artist. And then yeah, choreographically it's like the next one. Like the Boston Ballet one is my new favorite ballet in the world right now.
Exactly, which is beautiful, right? Because it's always growing.
Yeah, yeah. Especially
So
because, like I said, I look at the work and I'm like, I see the growth. I see myself. Because I did the thing I did when I was little. Sorry, not to go backwards, but just I want to say this really quick. The thing I did when I first started choreographing is I realized, I was like, it's Ulysses Dove. It's Balanchine. I think my first piece, and I have it on VHS somewhere in this closet, and it was a complete mashup of like Red Angels and Serenade. I was like, oh my God, what is this? But I looked at it and I said, okay, take Balanchine out, take Ulysses Dove out. That 3.5%, that's you. That's you. Use that. So then I used that. And then the next one I built on that. And I started to see less and less of my influences and see more and more of me, you know. So I can still to this day look at my work and say, I see the growth. I see where you're going. I kind of like check in with myself, talk to myself.
yeah, yeah. So do you have an insight you can share? Perhaps the thing also that comes to you now, because I know we have many. Do you have a particular insight you can share about living a creative life?
Mm, my insight on living a creative life.
Fulfilling
Yeah,
something as a creative person.
for me. It's about dreams, and it's about
Okay.
humanity and about heart. Um, you know, like you, I one of the things I learned from you, and I incorporated into my work, is the tactile, touching, especially coming out of the pandemic where a lot of us spent a lot of time alone. I am and that's why I say grateful that you get to go into a studio to touch someone, to hug someone, to even be in the same space with them is like, it's amazing. And like I said, no matter how hard it gets in the arts, I will say this: throughout my life, it's never been easy. But every time I got into that studio and I would see another dancer and work with a choreographer, my life was so much brighter. I'm my happiest when I am submerged in the arts, whether it's dance, whether it's going to the theater, music, like just the arts in general. I love it. It truly saved my life. It truly saved my life. And without it, I really don't know where I would be, because it really fulfills me and it really makes me happy. And I see what it does to the world, and I see when it's, you know, when it's visualized and when it's seen, and how people react to it and walk away from it, whether they're confused or not, or, you know, understand it or didn't get it or anything like that. It's the fact that you have now thinking people going out into the world and experiencing something that has to do with, from me, the love. It's all love for me. So
Well, that is a beautiful way to wrap up this interview. It's all about love.
yeah.
It was again, you know, so wonderful. I always say these chats are also selfish because I get to speak with my friends again.
I know.
So it was so wonderful to sit here and chat with you and listen to you and listen to your career and how amazing you are. I want to direct viewers to find out more about you. I have balletboyproductions.com where they can find out about that. But
Mhm.
do you have an Instagram handle, or do you have another website where they can find out more about you?
Yeah, it's all at balletboyproductions.com, or on Instagram, it's at Ballet Boy Productions. Yeah, pretty
Great,
much everything is up there on those two platforms.
great, great. So you will get a short bio, everyone, from Ja in the description box below this video. So there'll be a little there. Our next interview will feature Erica Lall, who's a dancer with ABT, next Sunday. And now it's time for thanks. Gracie Spina, the young woman, excuse me, the young woman who helps so much. I thank our dance community for holding us up. And Ja, once again, so wonderful to sit and listen and speak with you. Thank you so
Same
much.
to you. Thank you so much, Helen. It's always a pleasure and a joy and a privilege and an honor to talk with you and share space with you.
Mwah. Bye.